Que pasa, Mufasa? Me llamo Señor Mycopreneur. Hello, everybody. My name's Dennis Walker. I'm the host of the Mycopreneur podcast. I realize that we're almost 25 episodes in right now, and I've never properly introduced myself. So I'm going to take an opportunity to talk about where I come from, why I started the Mycopreneur podcast, what I hope for the Mycopreneur podcast future, and some potential sponsorship opportunities that may exist for us to work together. So here we go. I was born in San Diego, California in 1989. My family house is about 5 minutes from the San Diego-Tijuana border. I was brought up in a very multinational environment and was fortunate enough to host exchange students from places as far afield as Venezuela, Ghana, Kyrgyzstan, Malaysia, many from the former Soviet Union, from Brazil, from different parts of Europe. I was really able to experience much of the world being brought to my doorstep. Now, as I got older and I entered university, I did so as a Division I athlete. I was actually a baseball player, and quite seriously so. I signed a letter of intent to play baseball at the University of San Francisco, and it was my time at USF when I really started to dial into the legacy of psychedelics and of what mushrooms can do on an individual and collective level. While at the University of San Francisco, I became enamored of media studies, and I enrolled in the digital media production program that was on offer there. And it's where I really cut my teeth on learning how to effectively wield technology to tell compelling and meaningful stories. Now, after I graduated from the University of San Francisco, I entered a period of wandering. And I actually took a job teaching English in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So I lived in Saudi for 5 months, saved a bunch of money, and was able to wander the world after that. After I returned home from the Middle East, I began to date the woman who is currently my wife. We decided that San Diego wasn't the place where we wanted the next chapter of our lives to unfold, and consequently, we got working holiday visas in New Zealand, and we booked a one-way ticket to go strike out on our own and look for opportunity at the ends of the earth.
Christchurch, it's on, we're here.
While in New Zealand, we took jobs at seafood factories, working our asses off from dawn to dusk, nearly 60 hours a week, doing blue-collar manual labor. I was working in the freezer. I was packing up 12 packages of green shell New Zealand mussels into boxes and loading shipping containers to send off to Hong Kong and Dubai. It was really hard work. And during that time, we also managed a hostel on the weekends while the proprietors were busy with their first child. So this opportunity enabled us to save all the money we were making in the factory and then to travel the world. After returning from literally 5 years of circumnavigating the globe and having all kinds of incredible experiences, from living in an anarchist bunker in Romania to staying in Oslo for periods of time.
We're at the waterfront in downtown Oslo. Let's go have a look and see what's good around here.
Visiting the Amazon 5 times and learning about shamanic plant medicine traditions, spending a lot of time in the Middle East in places like Oman, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Bahrain, and all the while continuing my relationship with a lot of the peers I had from the digital media studio and the media studies program at USF, who have now proliferated all around the world and represent some of the biggest companies in the world. I started taking on all kinds of one-off projects, from filming weddings to filming for boutique companies to doing media strategy. Okay, I was pretty stoned when I was making this yesterday. I forgot to touch on a few key points in my executive summary, but about 10 years into the game of having an extremely personal, extremely consistent relationship with mushrooms and encountering them all over the world, in addition to my occasional forays into the corporate world, eventually a couple of my friends were like, "Hey dog, you should start a mushroom podcast." Now, as for the future of the podcast, we're about 25 episodes in now, and we've brought you some of the most prolific, recognizable movers and shakers worldwide in the mushroom industry, from CEOs of companies that represent tens of millions of dollars of revenues to anarcho-mycologists who have no interest in profiting off of these sacred medicines. We've brought you cultivators, designers, artists, visionaries, writers, filmmakers. My vision for where I want the future of the Mycopreneur podcast to go is I want it to go global as fuck. And I see all kinds of extraordinary people in India, in Indonesia, in Nigeria, in South America, just all kinds of pockets of the world. I want to be able to highlight Mycopreneurs doing extraordinary work in their communities. So where do we go next? Let's talk sponsorship opportunities. I am highly interested in taking on a few collaborators and partners who'd be invested in building a long-term relationship. Some of the sponsorship opportunities that exist come in the form of medicine, moolah, and I don't know what the third one is, but that's what this is for. It's for connections. This podcast is 100% self-funded, but I'd be very interested in collaborating with people, perhaps you, to take this podcast to the next level and bring world-class content to a global audience. It'd be very helpful to have outside sources of revenue because I'm spending all of my own money so far. I'd love to be able to outsource some of the work, like graphics packages, getting nice, neat little lower thirds, custom-made intros and graphics, more professional juju to further legitimize and professionalize the podcast for an even greater outreach to an audience around the globe. That's one way you can help. Moolah. Another way, mushroom medicine. This engine right here is 100% running this podcast. With some help from Mrs. Mycopreneur, we're getting the word out. We're doing all the outreach. We're doing all of the social, spending time on the timeline. Lord knows I don't want to be glued to the phone all day, but this is a digital media product and it requires a lot of tender, loving care above and beyond just reaching out to people, building rapport, earning their trust, doing the actual one-on-one engagement, and then turning around the product on a weekly basis. Videos Tuesday, podcasts on Thursday. It adds up to a lot of work, and I really do it because I believe in the product, but I'm fully open to your vote of confidence. If you want to invest moolah or mushroom medicine into this mycopreneurial hustle that is the Mycopreneur podcast, we would be greatly appreciative of that. So this is getting a little long-winded. I just wanted to take an opportunity to let you all in on where we stand with the podcast, where I come from, who I am, and where we hope to go with the podcast with your help and with the loving guidance of our beautiful general counsel, the mushrooms themselves. Thanks so much for tuning in. Look out for the new podcast on Thursday. We've got a series of bangers coming up. Don't make me say it twice.